Now I've got to go and get myself straight. I'll be back with you in 2 seconds. Hello everybody, my name's Carmel Jane and thank you so much for having me here tonight. A little bit odd doing it by video, so it was always better to do it in person, but hopefully you're going to enjoy the talk tonight. My name's Carmel Jane, and I'm sure plenty of you may have come across me, and if not, you might have some of my photos in your home, because I've done a lot of stuff locally and actually been a photographer for over 20 years. First of all, I'm going to play you a short video on how to look good on Zoom calls. It's something I did for my business community recently, just to kind of up your game when you are on any kind of Zoom or Skype, how you can just look that little bit better. Then we're going to go through the photos, and the photos are going to kind of come up on screen, and I'm just going to talk about them. Now I'm going to warn you, a lot of the photos actually are photos that are just off my iPhone. I thought, even if you've got an SLR, you can look at, we're looking at lighting, front light, back light, and side light. We're looking at composition, and we're also looking at how to compose families. So it's something there for everyone, and all you need is that smartphone in your pocket, and you can start taking better photos. Anyway, let's get down to it. Enjoy this Zoom video, and then we're going to look through all the photos. At the end, I'll be around to answer questions, I think, through Facebook. See you soon. So I've got 3 top tips. You've got to look for light, you've got to get some height, and you've got to check out what's going on behind you. So the first one is light. Now I'm really lucky. I've got this lovely living room. It's white walls, and actually you can't see, but I'm sat in front of a big bay window. So there's lots of lovely light coming straight onto my face, which I can tell you does make you look younger. So if you've got a window, try and sit in front of it. Okay. The other top tip is height. Now the number of times I've had to sit there and look up people's noses, it's not good. And then just see their funny little heads cropped off and their ceiling. So when I do this is how I would normally be sitting at my computer. But when I'm doing a call, I get a couple of books, I prop it up, and then it's a way more flattering angle. And make sure that your device, your computer or your laptop or your phone is pretty much at eye level. Third one is your setting. I do have a quick tidy up, plump up the cushions, make sure there's no laundry in the background and the kids' stuff isn't everywhere. So actually look at your whole screen to see what's going on, because you don't want anything dodgy in the background. So remember, it's light, find lots of nice light coming into your face. Height, raise your computer up, make sure it's kind of at eye level. And the other thing is setting. So take a look at what's going on around you. And I've got one other top tip. I've got to show you this. On Zoom, they have this, and you go into video settings, it's down here in the left-hand corner. It says here, touch up my appearance. Now, if we unclick that and go to here, wait for it. Oh my goodness, I reckon I look about 10 years older. I always have touch up my appearance in the Zoom calls. Here we go, touch up my appearance. I reckon it takes about 10 years off me. Anyway, feel better, look better, and have that little bit more confidence in any of your video conference or Zoom style calls. And hopefully see you all out there looking gorgeous, and hopefully in the real life. So maybe the lockdown will be over eventually and we can get proper meetings. Anyway, take care and stay safe. So we have been Carmel Jane Photography for 10 years now. I used to be a wedding photographer, then we started in dance. We have a beautiful studio where we do dance photos in the studio. We also go out and photograph live shows, they're loads of fun, and while we're there we also do white background. So we've got about 300 dance schools now. And a few years ago we were asked to do photos at a school, and now we're over 100 schools. We do a lot locally. Love the school photography. We use our same high-key lighting, high-end lighting that we would use for corporate headshots, and we use it for the schools. So it's been hugely successful, and that side of our business continues to grow. We've also done other things like sports, done quite a lot of sports things locally, headshots. It's a lovely one of Louise McKinley that I photographed her for a few years ago. We do a lot of corporate work. As you can see, I think in every single one of these photos there has been people in the photos, because primarily we photograph people. We've recently started the film side of our business. That's been going for a year, and I'm doing a lot of videos. And not only that, I have been on Phoenix FM where I had my radio show for 6 months, and I've won a few business awards. So anyway, let's start talking about lighting. So these photos were just taken on my iPhone. This one is, I just had a flower, it's in front of a big bay window, and this is front light, which I'll show you some examples of people, but actually if you're photographing front light, this is great, nice, soft, flattering, easy light. And then I photograph from the side, which you can see one side slightly more highlights, one slightly more shadowy. So we're getting a slightly different look, a little bit more interesting light, but you have to work with the light a little more. And then here we've got backlit. So all of these photos were taken in my living room with the same window, and look at the different effects you can get for using backlight, side light, or just front flat light. So I thought with me and my selfie stick, I would show you some more examples. So this is up in the loft room where it's really, really sunny. And so this is where I'm backlit. Generally backlighting doesn't work if you haven't got any kind of front to go with it. So actually your face is really dark. We can then use front light, but you've got to be really careful and see how the light is shining directly on my face, which is not a good look. There's highlights and lowlights. So when you're looking to photograph people, really flattering, nice front light. So this is me, I've just stepped back a tiny bit from where I was, and look at the difference in the photo. Loads of sunshine, lots of shadow, and step back a little bit, and it's soft, flattering light on my face. And these haven't been retouched or anything, it's as they've just come off the iPhone. So I went outside in a similar kind of thing. So here I was in the shadow, but I was deeper into the shadow, so it's quite dark, quite shadowy, can't really see my face. Again, in direct sunlight, this is what happens, and so it's really unflattering. People are squinting often. So when that light's front light, but that in the light, it's not so good. And then I step back a little bit, so I'm just on the edge of the shadow, at the front edge of the shadow. There's lots of nice natural light bouncing around, and again, a lot cleaner and softer look. Here's another example. There's a few holiday snaps. Me and my sons were out in Morocco. So if we look at this one, we were on the front edge of the shadow. It's really nice, soft light, and it's just flattering and easy, and lots of nice colours here. We were actually quite in a shadow. It was quite covered over, so I've had to use to increase the exposure to be able to expose our faces. And as you can see, eyes are kind of dark, and it's just, while it's still a great shot, it's not the same lovely, soft, flattering light that when you're at the front of the shadow and you've got lots of soft light. So if ever you're taking pictures of your family outside, really try and get to the front of that shadow, not in direct sunlight, but just on the edge where all the light is bouncing around. So saying that backlighting is not always great, but there's ways of using the sun. And actually, when I started going through my photos, I realised I use backlight to quite good effect often. So again, we're in these beautiful gardens in Morocco, and the sun was up behind us. And this is the picture that one of my sons took of me, and actually, it's not too bad. But if we click through and we've got this backlight behind, and you can see we've got, it's kind of half hidden by the palms, and all of a sudden we've got a photo that is maybe a little bit more interesting, and we've really, really used that light. If you're using your smartphone, you might have to just touch on the faces of your subject and increase the exposure, so their faces are exposed a bit better. But something like this, the whole composition with the backlight makes for a really fantastic photo. Here's another photo. So we were actually in Canada. I had a good year before lockdown, I've got to say. This was an ice sculpture. I was at Lake Victoria near Banff in Canada. But then it's taken from at the same time, from almost the same spot. We just twist the camera a little bit. The sun comes around from the side, and all of a sudden we've got an extremely different photo. And I think in some ways more interesting. We've got more texture on the ice, and really using the light. So different ways of using the light in the front and the back. Here we've got another shot. We could have had, if the subject had been looking at the sun, again, it could have been quite harsh, but instead with the light backlighting, there's lots of snow too, so there's light bouncing around. And so it can be used to really good effect, making this lovely sort of halo and something very golden. We're going to have a little look at composition. This is one actually I just snapped when I was out of my run to just kind of show. So this is, it was a beautiful day. Looking through, it's quite a nice vista over the fields, but there was a sign there. So often people don't look all the way around their frame because it didn't take much to just make a little twist and all of a sudden I haven't got that signpost in my shot, and it's a much nicer shot. I mean, you're probably not necessarily going out taking photos of the fields and things, but you can see how easy it is to look around your frame and to move slightly. This also using the natural tree as a frame. You imagine if you'd had a subject leaning up against that fence, it could have made a great shot, or if there was some big mountains in the background. It's looking around what's around to create a natural frame to really pull your eye into whatever the subject is. Back to some of the shots in Canada, absolutely beautiful. Might have overdone the post-production of my iPhone, sorry about that. So that was a great shot showing it all. And then we went inside. Here we have, again, a natural frame. It was this beautiful window. And then it creates a very, very different shot, even though it was largely of the same valley. So looking around, looking at ways of composing things differently. And here we are, we're in Calgary. So this was quite a famous bridge there. So we took a photo using the framing of the bridge, created something, this red bridge and the blue sky, something fairly dramatic. Then we took a picture near the bridge. So the bridge is more of a feature in this photo. I'm creating quite a strong eye line, but turn the camera and then it's something a little bit different again, and we get the high rises of the Calgary downtown in the photo. So none of these photos are necessarily right or wrong. It's just saying, what is it I want to show? What story do I want to tell? What's important to me in this photo? But you can say with this bridge, we've got three different ways of composing the photo. There's probably loads more, but it's a good idea to really look around your frame, look what's in the shot, and look at the story that you want to tell. Here we are in Morocco, so we went sand on these dune buggies with the kids. They absolutely loved it. I shot this in portrait mode, which is really flattering, so it was a nice shot of one of my sons. And then they wanted some pictures, and we had to just kind of stop and take photos. So there's different ways of doing the photos. Now, if I just sort of taken a photo square on, it'd be fine, but by going low, it creates it a bit more dynamic. We're all covered in sand. We'd had this fantastic day out. And we also get the palms in, and I'm not sure if I'd gone low because there might have been something in behind it I wanted to hide as well. So we had that one with the whole dune buggies, and then closer up with their helmets. But the low angle really creates a more dramatic look. It was something we're going for because that's what we've been doing and been fun. Here we are doing a night tour of the markets, and we're eating the fruit, which unfortunately I can't remember the name of the fruit. So that was a picture of the kids eating the fruit. So it was kind of just a snapshot. But then the next shot, to get a little bit of a feel of what was going on, came in low and close into the fruit, and sort of trying to get a little bit of feel of what's going on. So again, we've got that shot remembering the kids eating the fruit, but then a sort of slightly lower angle to look at it. So these are just all ideas on composition, but looking around the frame and not always taking the shot from eye level, looking at different ways of composing it to create a different atmosphere and feel to the shot. Here's another one looking at a different angle. I was up in London, the sky was blue. I don't tend to take too many pictures that don't have people in them, but this was just a really fantastic day. It was just gorgeous. So shot really, really low up into the sky, and all the converging angles just make for something quite dramatic. But again, it's about looking at your different angles to create something more interesting. Here's a series of 4 images. This is my niece. We're at the river out in New Zealand, and cute little girl. So that was fun. We took that photo. She did a little love heart, and then we went high, which made it sort of cute. We got all the river in the background, and then we went in closer and shot off to one side. So just looking at, rather than just doing just straight on, you can go for different angles. So slightly low, up high, and then straight on, and looking around what's in your frame. here we have, I think this is a lockdown for us, was learning how to cook. So this is the shot that I would have taken to go, oh look, here's my boys, I've just cooked dinner and it's going off to my mum and dad in New Zealand. So it's a pretty boring kind of snapshot. I like it because it's got my kids in it. Then we decided to, it was lockdown, we didn't have too much else to do, so took a slightly more arty shot of the whole table. And again, here's the shot that kind of, you want to remember the people in it. It's a bit of a snapshot. But then by changing our angles, by setting up, using our leading lines of our eyes, losing perspective, we're creating something a little bit more artistic. And the other son, not missed out. We've now got that's kind of just a snapshot of him eating, and then again going in low. And I say it was lockdown. I had not a lot else to do. So it was a case of lining up the plates to create this idea that the food looks great and you want to eat it. This was now into some more of my professional photos. And again, looking all the way around the frame. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to take photos of the kids and the bluebells, and you go to bluebell woods and there seems to be loads of bluebells, but to actually get that depth, to get all the feel of how many bluebells there are, you have to really look around your frame and often shoot low and really look to see where you can see all the bluebells. And so we've got these little kids in here, again, with the bluebells looking around the frame. You can see they're slightly backlit. We can see the light on the hair. But really, I was down low whenever doing this kind of shoots. I'm usually in my old gear because I'm kneeling down and out here, even shooting even lower. This little girl was lying on the log, and so I've created a natural frame with the bluebells all around the image. And again, going really low, you get all that perspective, so you can see all the purple in behind her. And here again low, and really when we do the bluebell shoots, we have to look all around to make sure we get the depth of all the colour. But absolutely cute little photos. Here's a spring photo I took. We were at this family's house, and actually I was sitting on the wall that adjoins the neighbours, and they had a big garden, but the garden was in blazing sunshine. I thought, no, this is not really going to work, because actually we want a pretty flattering look of all of the family. So we sat there, there's quite a lot of sunshine, they're feeling near the edge of the shadow, but also there's light in behind, so it doesn't just go kind of very dark in behind. So it creates a really lovely look, and the lovely yellow and warmth of the sun shining on the trees actually creates a sense of warmth and colour to the image as well. Summertime, and again, maybe you haven't got everything quite so green. We have this lovely long grass. As you can see, the family are backlit because they've all got light shining on the sort of towards the back of their hair, on the hair, and going low, and we're shooting through the grass, which makes this fantastic natural frame around the family. Autumn, love shooting in autumn. All the colours are absolutely wonderful, and actually, even though sometimes the light can be quite kind of grey and dark, using the warmth and the wonderful yellow and oranges and reds of the leaves just really creates some warmth in the images. And in winter, generally if we're shooting in winter, I say to people to wear nice bright coloured clothes. I mean, the leaves are still reasonably, there's still a bit of leaves on the trees. This was quite a cold day, and it was in winter. So in the winter time, if you want to do any photos in winter, have everyone dressed up nice and colourfully. And this family actually leads us in quite nicely to the last few frames we're going to talk about. And talking about composing families, because whenever I have family go, oh, let's take a picture, and they kind of, all the kids jump in the middle, and then we've left with the big size adults that won't fit in. So whenever I'm starting photographing a family, we usually start with mum and dad, and often dad, because he tends to be the biggest, so we kind of put dad in, and then we have to sort of slot people together like a jigsaw that you're never quite sure what the end result is going to be. So if ever you are composing families, family get together at Christmas or things, start with either the biggest people or perhaps the most important people, like the oldest, maybe it's your mum and dad, create that kind of gravitas. Here's my whole family, so I think there's 20 of us in this photo. Really difficult, was a snapshot, was done on a timer, but in the middle you can see there it's mum and dad, and they are the ones that are holding it together, mum and dad with all their children and their grandchildren. So We moved the chair to the front of edge of the, we had a long sofa bench thing, and then we created it. We had to really build it up. So even though it's a pretty informal photo, it did take a little while to construct it. I'm in there too, otherwise I would have probably fixed a few of the holes in there, but yeah, not a bad effort for 20 people on a self-timer. Here we've got a couple of studio shots. So this one wasn't a studio, but again, you can see it's mum, dad / nana and granddad in the middle, and then we added the families around it. But it's a really good idea to start with the people in the most important. Again, here we got nana and granddad in the middle, and then we slowly build up the families around it. And on this one, we've got mum and dad and then the others. So just to give you a little bit of idea about creating your groups and just kind of really emphasizing that a family shot, generally you have to, it just makes visual sense to start with the bigger people or to have something, the anchor to set it around. And if it's intergenerational, usually we put the oldest people who are the often the grandparents in the middle. So that is me, Carmel Jane Photography. My big focus now actually is on the school photography. We do take absolutely stunning photos. In fact, the lighting that we use for schools for their school photography is the same lighting that we use for professional headshots. We do quite a bit of work at the Department of International Trade, of photographed Liz Truss and things. So it's the same lighting we use for students. So there you go. Hopefully that was a bit of a whistle. It's hard to teach photography, not in real life and just talking about photos, but hopefully there's a few takeaways. Just going back over them, we've got front light, back light and side light. You can use backlight to make things more interesting. Front light, if it's in the gentle edge of the shadow, will make things more flattering. Composition, look around your frame, look at the frames within the frame that you can use, look for leading lines, look for different angles, and also then when you're out shooting, look at how you compose your groups as well and compose your photos. So we're just going to take a look. Some people submitted some of their photos and for me to critique, which is quite difficult actually. And there's a couple, I don't know where these were taken, but they're absolutely stunning location. And I'm not sure if this is a double exposure, but I do like the beautiful clouds and the reflection and the people. It's wonderful. This one is stunning. Again, reflection. I don't know if it's a post-production or if it's just some kind of amazing reflective lake that this person was at. For me, I just feel like the horizon is a little bit wonky and I'd perhaps like to straighten that up, but otherwise an absolutely stunning image. Sent in this one, which I love. I just love the whole sort of airiness of it with the kind of fogginess. The line of the path kind of drawing your eye in. I'm not sure if maybe it could have been cropped slightly, so there's a little bit less foreground and above, so actually make it a slightly more of a panoramic picture would have really helped focus in on the subject, but this image has a lovely feel to it. This one I absolutely love. I have no idea how it was taken, but the teddy bear is almost come to life, and then there they are hanging there. I like that it's being shot slightly to one side so that the downward pole of the washing line isn't interfering with the background, the skyline. So absolutely love this shot, and the kind of late evening sun and light is just very, very soft. So I think a wonderful image. This is a great shot, lovely. The blue sky, the clouds are fabulous. The rich, I think perhaps a wheat field. I don't know, the path going down one side and the trees going down one side are good, but it's almost like if there'd been something leading into it, a little bit more would have made the shot perhaps a bit better, but just a lovely, lovely image. Of the sky, and I think what's made it great is because if the sun is behind a cloud, you get lovely soft light, which means there's no hot spots, but a great image. And this one with the magpie, it was Nina who said, "Why aren't my pictures sharp?" This could be a couple of reasons. If you don't have a very good quality lens, they don't sharpen up so much, especially when you're shooting on a long lens. If you're shooting at the top end of a long lens, and it's a cheaper end one, they just aren't sharp. So you may want to try and get closer and not be shooting at the top end of your long lens. It also looks like the twigs in the front and the foreground are slightly more in focus, so really make sure you've got the right point of focus. And the other thing that may be it is your shutter speed. So if you're long lens and you're shooting from far away, you do need to make sure that your shutter speed is quite high. And the general rule of thumb is if you've got a 200mm lens, you want to be on at least 1/200th of a second, if not a little bit longer. So really fantastic images. I'm not sure if I was meant to choose a favourite, but I do love the teddy bear one. I think it's just a super cute photo. Phew, I hope you enjoyed that. I will be around to answer questions, I think through Facebook. And if you've got any other questions, please do feel free to email me on carmel@carmeljane.co.uk. And hopefully we'll see you all around soon. Take care.